Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 24th day of September. I am your host, Paul Holden, bringing you all things Colorado Rockies, proudly part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Spotify Green Room. We go live on Green Room here on Locked On Rockies on Saturdays. So if you want to get in on the action, download the app and join me tomorrow to talk a little bit more about Rockies baseball. And to talk about Giants baseball today, we have the one and only Ben Kaspick joining us from the Locked On Giants podcast. Ben, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to this conversation. Looking forward to the series.
Ben, in case you go live on Spotify Green Room, when can Giants fans expect you to go live on Green Room?
Every Sunday toward the end of the game. So, Giants Rockies this Sunday. Hopefully, from my perspective, looking at maybe a sweep, the Giants kind of need it right now. So, we'll see.
Well, let's dive in there. The Rockies just dropped 2 of 3 to the Dodgers. 2 tough losses, honestly. The Rockies had opportunities in both of those games. They were able to go out and hit Max Scherzer, something that people have not been able to do since the trade. He allowed more runs yesterday than he did in his entire time in Dodger blue. How are Giants fans feeling at this point in the race and heading into a place that's been tough to play for people on the road this year?
Well, Giants fans are kind of reeling after yesterday because we were watching that game, as much as Rockies fans were, I think. We were paying attention. Max Scherzer, I had both games kind of pulled up simultaneously. And man, I mean, like you said, nobody has gotten to Scherzer. Rockies did yesterday. And then how about, down to their last out with 2 outs and nobody on base in the ninth, and then 3 straight singles. And that's the thing. It is the Dodgers, right? Like, it's not like they're just sending up Joe Schmo. It was Mookie Betts, Corey Seager, and Trey Turner. So, but that was difficult. And simultaneously, the Giants had taken the lead after falling behind 4-0 in the first inning. They had come all the way back to take the lead in that game, in their game against the Padres, just at the same time that the Rockies were looking like they were going to win their game. So Giants fans were thinking for a second that they might have a 3-game lead in the West with 9 to play. And instead, the Rockies, end up losing that game. And then the Giants ended up losing their game in extra innings. And so instead of a 3-game lead, it's a 1-game lead with 9 to play. So, that was tough. But at the end of the day, you still have a lead with 9 to play. And so this series is obviously enormous. Dodgers are in Arizona, so we don't expect much help from them, from the D-backs in that series. But it's exciting to be in this position, and it's not a position that anybody thought they would be in at this point.
Yeah, and that's absolutely right. I mean, 99 wins right now. Like you said, 1-game lead. I talked about on my show yesterday. I said if the Rockies could pull off the win, the series win, and get the Giants 3 games above, that would be a tough hurdle to overcome, just with the limited amount of games and things of that nature. But man, this is a heated race, and insane that 2 100-win teams. I'm going to go ahead and put them both in the 100-win category. I'm pretty confident in saying that 2 100-win teams, only one of them is going to get a chance to play in an actual division series. What's your takeaway this year from the NL West? I've been kind of trying to say this, and I think with those 2 teams, the Padres still being good, I know they've underperformed, and the Rockies being better than people thought, I'd argue that the NL West is the best division in baseball.
I think that it's hard to argue that it's not, with the Giants and Dodgers at the top. And then, of course, the Padres are super tough despite their little collapse here. And then the Rockies, too, have done a lot better than people thought they would do. I think, you look at what the D-backs have done this year, people thought that's what the Rockies were going to do this year. And it really hasn't been the case. They've been quite a good team at home, not the case on the road, but still, I think, I give credit to Bud Black and that staff. The Rockies play hard, and I think that their series against the Dodgers over the weekend was an example of that. They did not roll over. They were up for those games. And the D-backs, you roll into Arizona and expect to win, but other than that, and the Rockies are always tough to play in Denver.
Right.
And so, I mean, having to play the Dodgers and the Padres however many times, and then if you're the Rockies or the D-backs, having to play the Dodgers, Giants, and Padres, that's definitely, to me, the toughest division.
Yeah, and that's why success is so hard to come by sometimes as Rockies fans, and lately it's Diamondbacks fans. Padres fans feel it too, other than they're feeling it mostly now. But what is it like for you as a Giants fan to see that the way that this season has turned out? At the end of the day, I mean, if I recall correctly, people were projecting the Giants like 70 wins or something like that. Not even really close. That this was the year the Giants were all these contracts, all these old people, but yet here they are, consistent baseball all the way through. What's worked?
Everything. I mean, in order to have a 99 and whatever 54 season as they are right now, pretty much everything has gone well. There's really not any area that I can point to and say that they've done poorly. Maybe base running, but that's, you're not going to have an awful season if the only thing you're not doing well is base running. They've hit well. They're leading the National League in homers. The last time I checked, they are hitting pinch hit homers. The way that they manage their roster under Gabe Kapler has really worked, and all the platooning. And they hit another pinch hit home run yesterday. That's how they came back. So they get the matchups consistently, and it's worked to really good effect. And then the coaching staff that Kapler brought in has helped players improve. So that, you look at guys like Posey and Crawford and Belt being able to resurrect their careers, and instead of talking about those contracts coming off the books, we're talking about extensions. And they gave Crawford an extension, and
Mm-hmm.
people rightfully so want to see Posey and Belt coming back as well. And then just the depth that they've accumulated with guys like Mike Yastrzemski and Lamont Wade Jr., kind of diamonds in the rough, which, is a Farhan Zaidi special. He's the guy who kind of brought Max Muncy to LA, and now he's running the Giants. And we've seen that type of, you know, uh, finding undervalued players from the Giants. Lamont Wade Jr. has done it to every NL West team, like with huge hits late in games. He's known around here now as late night Lamont because of he comes through. His numbers in the ninth inning or later are just. I don't think that's necessarily like a sustainable thing. It's just maybe a little bit random, but it's unbelievable the type of production he's had late in close games. And I haven't even mentioned thus far the pitching, and they've been able to turn guys like Kevin Gausman into a frontline starter. I mean, I don't want to say they turned him into it. Of course, huge credit to him, but Kevin Gausman is now a frontline starter. And when they picked him up, he was kind of off the scrap heap. He had been DFA'd the year prior. And, Anthony DeSclafani is having a great year. The bullpen has been really good. Jake McGee, a big part of that, and I know he was a Rocky for a long time. He's
Yep.
currently hurt, but anyway, and they've been really good defensively. So pitching, defense, hitting, they've done it all.
Yeah, that's that. One of the things too that you mentioned, the long ball, that has been such a huge asset for this Giants team, especially at a park that it's really hard to hit home runs. So if you're having a year where you're able to not only swing it well on the road and then come to your notoriously hard to hit home runs in ballpark, and you're able to put them over the wall, that's a force. I mean, I do have to say, a little bit interesting that it's that the year is an odd ending year instead of an even ending year. Maybe they're flipping it on us now. I want to ask about another player that the Giants were able to acquire at the deadline and what the future holds. But before we dive into that, got to tell you about some of our wonderful, wonderful sponsors, and then we are starting with NetSuite. Slow is just right if you're on vacation, a sloth, or describing QuickBooks. More like slow books. It sucks you in and slows you down with manual processes, integration difficulties, and glitchy delays that leave you scrambling for the numbers you need. Now is the time to make the switch to NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 financial system, because NetSuite gives you visibility and control of your financials, inventory, HR, e-commerce, and more. It's everything you need to grow all in one place. With NetSuite, you can automate your processes and close your book in no time, no matter how big your business grows. Failing to switch to NetSuite will leave you stuck trying to make sense of your books while your competitors sprint ahead. 93% of surveyed businesses increase their visibility and control since switching to NetSuite. And right now, special financing is back. NetSuite is offering a one-of-a-kind financing program only for those ready to switch today. Head to netsuite.com/lockedon right now. Get special financing at netsuite.com/locked on. netsuite.com/locked on. And of course, no better way to celebrate your afternoon of a Friday than with the best tasting protein bar ever, and that is Built Bar. And they have so many delicious flavors. I guarantee you there is something for everyone. You got the coconut, the cherry barcia, the raspberry, the mint brownie, the double chocolate, salted caramel, strawberry, orange, cookies and cream, and German chocolate. My favorite flavor, if it's got chocolate, I love it. That's my favorite flavor. So that double chocolate, German chocolate, whew. If you haven't tried all the flavors, you can get a mixed box where you'll get 2 of each of the 9 flavors. Not only are Built Bar flavors the best tasting, they're healthy too. 17 to 18 grams of protein, calories ranging from 130 to 180, only 4 to 5 grams of sugar, and only 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. Amazing flavors, all tasty, all healthy. Go to built.com and use promo code LOCKED15. That's built.com, promo code LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. We're chatting to Ben Kaspick here of the Locked On Giants podcast. And Ben, the Giants go out, they get Chris Bryant. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. What is that situation looking like? It's a free agent at the end of the year, if I recall correctly. What is that situation with the Giants?
Yeah, he's a free agent at the end of the year, and when he first came over here, it was like a love fest, and all the quotes from him talking about he grew up a Giants fan. He grew up in Las Vegas, and he said he was a huge Barry Bonds fan. So, and then he's been good. I mean, he's been good. He's had some really big hits. Although yesterday he didn't come through in a big extra inning situation, but neither did a couple other players. But anyway, uh, there's certainly going to be interest in bringing a player of his caliber back. I mean, he's a good, very good baseball player. The thing is, though, the Giants are going to have a ton of options with what they want to do because, as we mentioned earlier, they do have so much money coming off the books. They only have about $45 million committed for 2022. And that's been the story with them for years and years recently, has been that they have all these contracts on the books that kind of limited what they could do. And so for the first time, they have the flexibility to go out there and make not just one major move, but they could make several major moves. Because as I was saying that, I was realizing they did try to sign Bryce Harper, and they offered him like $310 million. And that was the first offseason under their new front office, Farhan Zaidi being brought in after the 2018 season. So they are primed to be big players in the market. I think they're not going to kind of back themselves into a corner and say it has to be Chris Bryant, but he's certainly going to be one among all the top free agents who are out there who's going to be a possibility to come to the San Francisco Giants for 2022 and beyond.
You mentioned the Crawford extension, and this is a year of a big time free agent class of shortstops. Is with the Giants actually having this ability to make moves. Are you more encouraged by sticking with Crawford, sticking with the shortstop that's been part of the Giants for a bit, or is there part of you that was kind of hoping that they wanted to go out and take a look at this shortstop class to maybe have someone switch teams in the NL West?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and honestly, now that you say that, I realize I find myself thinking that exact same thing all the time. Like, I'm just wondering what it's interesting that that was the one extension that they've made in season when there's, like, this historic shortstop free agent class, and on my show over the last couple years, have talked a ton about how the Giants, with all the money coming off the books, plus that shortstop class, meant they're probably gonna end up with one of those guys, and yet in season, they extend their mid-30s shortstop. Now, to be fair, he's having a great season, not just a good season, a great season. He's improved. He looked like he was declining across the board, and now he's gotten better across the board. Like, somehow, not only has he gotten better offensively, but he's gotten back to being elite defensively as well. He's just been a difference maker defensively. But at the same time, it is a little weird because some of the very best free agents this offseason are those shortstops. We're talking, like you're alluding to, Corey Seager. and Trevor Story. I don't know which one you were necessarily
Either
alluding to,
or,
but either
honestly.
or. And then Carlos Correa. And the thing about all those guys is they're young too. So I don't know, like, does it take them out of the running for all of those guys, which is a little weird to have done before even testing it out. But maybe they don't see any of them as wanting to come to San Francisco. Maybe they see them as potentially willing to play other positions in some of their cases. I don't know about all of them, but it is a little weird, and I do find myself wondering that exact same thing.
Yeah, the one thing that is, I don't think Trevor Story is going to end up playing center field for anybody like we heard around the deadline. That was kind of some stuff. I was like, I don't think the Padres are going to sign Trevor Story and then let's just put him out there in center and see what happens. It's interesting. Unfortunately, I don't think the Rockies are going to be able to. I think the door for Trevor Story to return to the Rockies is creaked open. Just because of the way the team has played in the second half of the season, but I just don't think the Rockies have enough to entice Trevor Story to be excited. I mean, the pitching staff is something to be excited about, sure, but when your offense isn't coming alive, when most of the season you are in the bottom, the Rockies were in the bottom of baseball in home runs for most of this year, which was crazy to me. I mean, the offense desperately needs a beef up and a little more bullpen stability too would be great for the Rockies. But yeah, I was really intrigued, like a team like the Giants with Crawford. Is there a chance Crawford plays another position? Does he play anywhere else, or maybe fill the gap? Could it be he goes to third if Bryant leaves, and then the Giants still go after, maybe try to get one of these shortstops?
I don't think there's a chance that Crawford moves. I I don't think. Well, I seriously doubt it. I seriously doubt it. He's never, as far as I know, he has not played an inning at any other position in his major league career, maybe even his professional career, maybe going back to college because he's been such a good defensive shortstop that why would you do that? So
Right.
I think it's more likely that, these kind of bigger bodied players like Corey Seager or Carlos Correa, that they could see them moving to maybe third base. Although you've got Evan Longoria and you mentioned Bryant, part of the value of Bryant to the Giants has been that he's moved around the diamond, and that's something they like to do a lot. Bryant has played third, he's played left, he's played right, he's played center, and with the Cubs, he played first and he played short a little bit this year. I think one inning at short, so that doesn't really count. But no, I don't think so. With moving Crawford, I was going to say the bat doesn't play as much at other positions, except it kind of does now if he continues hitting anything like he has this year. But so much of his value is from being a good defensive shortstop that doesn't really make sense to me. So no, but then does
No.
that take them out of the running for a Seager and a Correa and a Story? I
Mhm.
don't know. Maybe.
I think Correa is going to end up back with the Astros. I think they're going to get a deal done, but it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Seager and Trevor Story. I'm very curious to see what happens. Especially, I don't know. I don't know. I want to be confident with the Rockies, but I just don't think they have enough that makes Trevor Story be like, I want to stick with this. After everything that happened in the offseason before this season, the Rockies have to really show that they're committed to keeping these players around, to keep it. If you sign these deals, I mean, how are you supposed to feel confident if 2 years later, after you sign an 8-year deal, you're on another team? I don't really know. But new ownership, or not new ownership, new GM, I should say, even though he's hired internally. Ben, let's talk a little bit about the upcoming series. But before we dive into that, we got some more great sponsors to tell you back. And it is football season, and Bet Online is back and better than ever. As I shift to the gridiron, even though the baseball season is still in full swing with great playoff races on the way, Bet Online is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. With a new and updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, BetOnline.ag continues to be the number one source for everything football. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 100% welcome bonus. That's double your initial deposit just for signing up. Don't forget to use promo code NFL100. From football, basketball, boxing, baseball, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. Bet Online, your online sportsbook experts. And does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows. You're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's login for the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all that entertainment you love without the hassle and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings you live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part? There's no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directv.com. That's directv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package. We are doing a nice little Locked On Rockies, Locked On Giants crossover here as the Giants head into town. Really big series for the Giants. The Rockies have an opportunity to continue to play spoiler. Not as successful against the Dodgers, even though they had plenty of opportunities to do so. We got it's exciting for Rockies fans because this is a pitcher we've wanted to see come back after Tommy John. Peter Lambert takes the bump tonight for the Rockies. His first appearance this year, first appearance in like a long time. I want to say it's flirting with like 700 days or something like that. And then going into the rest of the series, what's the rest of the pitching matchups here? Who else we got going on here? But anyway, Peter Lambert's going to be the big one. What are you expecting from the Giants tonight? Rookie pitcher looking to bounce back. What are you hoping to see from San Francisco in this series tonight and in this series? Obviously, you're looking to see wins, but look at what are you looking to see from the Giants at this point in the season in a series that should help them build a little bit of a lead in the division.
Well, it's the same story every time they come into Denver, basically, which is that you hope that the bats really get going and that they put up a ton of runs. And that was the case last time Giants were in Denver, which was like just a couple weeks ago in September. And that's what they were able to do. I think they scored 10 and then 12 and then maybe 8 or 7 and they swept, which was the only time up to that point at least that the Rockies had been swept at home all year. So if you can put up runs, I mean, even that is not necessarily enough because you got to pitch also. But that's the key for the Giants, I would say. If they can put up, 8 runs a game or so, then I think they have a really good shot. Their pitching is a little bit worn out, and so that's a consideration. Like yesterday, they had a ton of relievers who basically were not available because they've been used so much lately. As I mentioned, Jake McGee is currently on the injured list, which is a pretty big blow. He's been the closer for this team, and he's done a really good job of it. So, with Alex Wood on the mound tonight, you hope for length, although he actually had COVID, and just his last start was his first start since coming off the COVID IL, and he was only able to go like 3 innings, and so perhaps that's part of why guys weren't available yesterday, is they knew they were going to need guys tonight and in this series. This is not a place where you want your relievers to be banged up already coming into the series. So I wouldn't be surprised if they actually make some roster moves before today's game to get some extra pitching help. But yeah, the secret sauce in Coors, I would say, as a visiting team, put up a ton of runs and just hope and pray that your pitching and defense and walks, like limit the walks is a huge
Right.
one in Denver, and just get the outs you're supposed to get, and you have a shot.
Yeah, that's the prime example with that. The Rockies had the runners in scoring pitches and so many more opportunities than the Dodgers in this last series. But yet the efficient teams, both the Rockies can be included in this. When they come to Coors Field, they draw a walk and then boom, double in the gap. Or prime example with losing the game yesterday with the extra inning rule. When you have that runner on that extra base, Max Muncy comes up, squares up the second pitch he sees. It's they're down 2 already. The Dodgers were very good at taking advantage of being 3 for 5. They won a game being like 3 for 5 with runners in scoring position when the Rockies were like 4 for 20. And you just can't do that against teams like the Dodgers and the Giants. It's just not going to happen. And you mentioned scoring a lot of runs last time. You nailed it actually on the head. 10 runs, 12 runs, 7 runs in the Giants sweep of the Rockies there earlier in September. And it's been all Giants against the Rockies of late. 6 of the last 8 games that these two teams have matched up, it has gone to the Giants. Yeah, we're hoping for big things from Peter Lambert, but John Gray tomorrow, hoping that he can get the strikeouts going. The Rockies would love to play spoilers, but it's going to be tough. All of the NL West teams, including the Rockies, were playing great baseball into this stretch, all having, I think, minimum of 7-3 going into their last 10 games going into a couple days ago. So all teams playing great baseball. If you're the Rockies, you have to score, and you can't lose your opportunities. And of course, we're hoping for big things from Peter Lambert tonight, but that'll be interesting too, because the Rockies were stretched pretty thin in the bullpen yesterday, but I think they gave some people some time off yesterday in anticipation of this upcoming weekend series as well. Should be a fun one, though. Should be a good one for Rockies fans, as it's Larry Walker weekend. Do you have any Larry Walker memories that by chance that you might have? It's going to be a fun sell, even if the Giants come into town and smack the Rockies around. A lot of Rockies fans will be excited because it's all about our first ever Hall of Famer for the Rockies. You got any Larry Walker memories?
Nothing specific, but I do just remember him being a great, great player and a extremely scary player in Coors Field. I mean, when you put a Hall of Fame caliber player, and what is he known for? For me, he's known for like hitting tanks, hitting
Yep.
just monster home runs from the left side. Man, some great players, some great memories of those good Rockies teams in the early part of the century, in the early 2000s. And he was certainly among them.
The Blake Street Bombers, gotta love the representation. It's been really fun. That's been something Rockies fans have really been able to enjoy this year, is celebrating Larry Walker. Ben, thank you so much for joining us today. Should be a fun weekend of baseball as you're gearing up for postseason baseball. We here as Rockies fans are just getting all of our enjoyment out of the final. What is it? 9 games left in the
9.
season. Kind of hard to believe at this point that it's already here. It might be interesting, but. Would you be worried my last question for you, Ben, if the Giants, which I don't think this is going to happen, end up in the wild card game, who is the team you least want the Giants to have to match up with? It's got to be the Cardinals right now, right? Just being the team that's playing the best baseball at this point in the year.
Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt have tortured the Giants over the years. I mean, I don't know if you are aware of this, of how much Arenado destroyed the Giants. My goodness. And then add Paul Goldschmidt. He was just as bad. So when those guys left the NL West, Giants fans were doing cartwheels because, thank goodness we don't have to see these guys so much anymore. So the very last thing that I think Giants fans want to see is those guys rolling into San Francisco with a chance to end their season in one game. I know that's, for me, the last thing I would want to see. Of course, I think the Giants would be favored, and rightfully so, but it's one game. It's those guys potentially with a shot with one swing of the bat to basically end your season. So yeah, I don't want to see that, and that's partially why it's such a huge deal to win this division.
Yeah, those two. I mean, Nolan. Many a game I watched in San Francisco where he was doing very, very good. It's going to be really interesting. That team, from seeming like things are going to be really shaken up with the Cardinals here at some point to absolutely inferno in fire here down the stretch. But that's how baseball goes. Ben, before we wrap things up, where should people go to follow you, to follow all things Giants, especially as we get into the playoffs here?
Locked On Giants podcast every single weekday, which has been a lot of fun covering a playoff team. We're on YouTube as well, and we are also on Apple and Spotify, of course, and all that good stuff. And then on Twitter, if you're watching this video, you can see my Twitter handle down there, at Ben Kaspick. But yeah, even if you're not watching on YouTube, it's at Ben Kaspick. And what about you? Where can my listeners find you?
If you're curious about the Rockies, at LO Rockies on Twitter to follow the show. I'm at Paul Holden 33. You can follow me there for all sorts of good stuff. We're gonna make the offseason some fun here for the Rockies and see what we can learn from the playoffs as well. But Ben, before we go, betting on the Rockies and the Giants doesn't have to be a guessing game. If you listen to the new Locked On Bets podcast hosted by your boy Q and handicapping expert Lee Sterling, get daily picks, blowout specials, wrong team favorite picks, and Lee Sterling's lock of the day. Follow the Locked On Bets podcast, brought to you by betonline.ag, wherever you get podcasts. And folks, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast. All right.